Hi, lovely people. It's your boy, Degeneral, once again, and we are here once again with another exciting episode. I have a very wonderful guest in the studio. It's been a very long time chasing back and forth because he's a very busy man. So finally, he's in the studio, and we are going to have a very important discussion in the studio. So without much ado, I'll let us get straight into it. He is a man who will always dodge flatteries and appellations. Before you start, he will meet you with some praises, and you wouldn't be able to praise him. But he's one of the humble people I've ever met in my life. He's a good person, and he makes you feel at home. So help me welcome Mr. Nii Amah Dagadu. Thank you, sir, for honoring our invitation.
Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you. Okay, so Mr. Nii Amah, I would like you to tell us a little bit about yourself before we start the interview.
I'll score you 0/10. You made the fundamental mistake.
Okay.
You cannot put Mr. before me. I've told you this before.
Oh, okay. That's fairly said. That's fairly said.
Okay.
Nii is a title.
So you've shown me enough respect by calling me Nii Amah.
Okay.
So I appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for the correction on that. So that was the first thing he told me when we met. He was like, don't call me Mr. and Nii. You mention one and you leave the other. So he has done it again. So thank you so much.
Welcome, Dan.
Okay, so Mr. Nii Amah, tell us a little bit about yourself before we start.
I work with Multichoice Ghana. I'm responsible for Corporate Affairs and internal communications. And I'm a marketer and a PR person by training. And I love to work with young people. I'm always learning every day.
Okay, that's nice. As you rightfully heard, he's always loving it to work with young people. He has been a good person to me. His doors are always open when I get to his office. He offers me seats. Would you like coffee? No, then we get into it. So he's a very great person. He has worked with Joy, Prime, and yes, he has a very great resume. Currently, he's doing his PhD, and he's good with young people, as he rightfully says. So let's get right into it. I met him one day and I told him I wanted us to discuss one important issue that is rising drastically, and it's rising very fast. But it's something we need to acknowledge in our society so that we will become better people. We don't grow up to we can't even advise the young ones once they grow.
Mm-hmm.
So what we are here to talk about is how has social media compromised the values and principles of we young people?
And I think we just need to have the baseline that social media is not a bad thing.
Okay.
It's just a fabulous tool to connect. It is a fabulous tool for businesses to use to reach people. But unfortunately, anything that comes with a certain level of responsibility. And that is why you find that unfortunately people they forget about these. They're a little too excessive with some of the things that they do on social media, and it could come back to bite them in the long run.
Okay.
And that's why I always say that for anybody who's on social media, the first thing you want to ask yourself before you put up any post is, in 5 years from today, in 10 years from today, will I be proud of what I'm putting up today?
Okay.
So that you do not get caught in the web of that situation where 5 years down the line, your ideals have changed, your ideas to life have changed, and there's something that somebody picks on social media about you and you cannot be proud of.
Okay, so that's well said. Gone were the days where before you even do something, social media was not so popular. But before you do something, you ask yourself about the values and principles and the norms even in the society. But these days it's hardly to come by that you post something thinking about all these things. So what is your take on that? What has changed?
So social media is a leveler. Today, you can know about what is happening in the United States in real time thanks to social media, because you can go live in real time. And for example, during the recent winter crisis that was happening in the United States, where they had a severe winter, there was a young lady who was driving somewhere and the weather was just so bad she couldn't see in front of her. So she parked her car hoping that there will be a let up in the weather for her to be able to continue because it was snowing quite heavily.
Okay.
And she decided to go live. She actually showed us the last 3 or 4 hours of her life live and didn't even realize that she was going to die in a live video.
Wow.
That is how powerful social media is. She thought that, okay, I'm stuck in, so, and it can happen. It's, just think about it. You're driving home to Medina or you're in Kumasi and you're caught in the traffic on the Pokwari Road and you think that, oh, let me just turn my camera on and go live and just talk to the rest of the world.
To just make up
the time that you're spending in traffic because you're creating content for yourself and your blog and things like that. But unfortunately, it was the last couple of hours of her life because she was trapped. The snow trapped her in, and then carbon monoxide poisoning. She got poisoned by the smoke from her car because she was sitting in the car with the heater on, and because the snow trapped her in, it just rechanneled the smoke rechanneled itself back into the back, and she inhaled the carbon monoxide and passed away live on social media. That is how granular the whole platform is. Just so to the point. Because of this, what's happened is you now see cultures that we would ordinarily not have seen. For example, you would have seen it on like TV or read it in a newspaper. But now you're seeing young people go live instantly on social media, possibly talking back to a parent or talking back to an adult or something like that. And as young people, you find that people in their teens to the early adolescents, mid-20s, sometimes 30s, they depend a lot on what other people say about them.
Okay.
So they tend to start copying. Okay. And that's when they start copying, that is what social media enables you to do. It allows you to be able to see other cultures. You think that, oh, this is cool to me. And then you start copying and forget about your culture.
Okay. Okay.
You understand? So same way somebody in Europe will see something about Africa and, oh, okay, this is nice to me. And they also start copying. So it's not a one-way street. It's a two-way street. What we copy from them, there are also people on the other side also possibly copying from us. They find something that's cool about what we do on this side and they copy as well.
Okay. So I don't normally do this. I'm talking about trendy stuff on the platform because the platform is to educate people and that is exactly what we are doing. But come to think of it, we are still talking about social media. I read on the post this morning how 8 people started exchanging words with the president. Let me say they started insulting the president, and now the repercussions were that they will be dismissed from their schools. What is your take on that? Is it the fair treatment to them, or is it what social media has caused to them?
Right. So unfortunately, they were actually dismissed. A statement came from the presidency not too long ago, asking that Ghana Education Service rescinds that decision and possibly a more appropriate punishment be found for it. But you see, in today's world, a lot of people want to be the talk of town. That is how we said it in our day. You call it trending, but it was like the talk of the town. Everybody's talking about it. And to the extent that a lot of people also think that social media is a space that you can do whatever you like and live the fake life and nothing can be done to you. Okay. It's this same social media that can put you into trouble. That same social media can make you a million Ghana cedis.
Yeah, that's true.
You understand? That's true. So there is the good on it and there's also the bad on it. And the fact that some adults also have not lived a good life on social media, letting it get to a point where some young people think that you can get away with murder. Okay. So that you can talk anyhow about your elderly. You can disagree with some policies. And say it. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing. And even within one family, there are times when you disagree. Okay. The Israelis have a principle that if there are 7 people on a panel, or if there are 3 people on a panel, and they're discussing a subject, and all 3 of them think that they must go in one particular direction, one of them must intentionally disagree. Okay. And that is an intentional plan. The reason is when everybody says, let's go left, that one person alone must opt that I will disagree with the rest of the people. And that is an Israeli principle.
Okay.
So disagreement is not wrong.
Okay.
But what is wrong is if your comments on disagreement become insults.
Okay.
Because don't forget that the person you are insulting could be your father or mother.
Okay.
And so you ask yourself, can I say what I'm saying on social media in front of my mother and father?
Okay.
You are only privileged to have social media. There's only a privilege you have. There's a young 25-year-old person like you sitting somewhere in Ghana using the time you're using on social media to make money.
That's true.
And you are sitting on social media making a mockery out of yourself. You ask yourself, will I be proud of this? Sometimes even in 15 minutes.
So one day we were at the pool table. I was at the pool table with you, and before I'll make the shot because I was learning.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing you told me was, before you make every shot, ask yourself, what are you going to achieve? That has been an advice that I've been using these days. It has been a guide for me. I want you to give that same advice because these days we just post on social media because it is trendy. Everybody is doing it. Why don't I also do it? And this thing, there are repercussions that come to bite us later. So please enlighten us.
Right. So Daniel, this is it. I'm not saying social media is bad, and let's just make it clear. Okay. It is not bad. But the question you must ask yourself is, what next? Or what's the expected outcome of this?
Okay.
What is the expected outcome of this? You want to post something about you sitting over a dinner table somewhere eating. But ask yourself, and then what? If you cannot give yourself a very valid reason for posting it, there's no need posting it. The same way you take your phone and you post anything and everything at all, there's somebody taking their phones as well, or whichever smart device, and posting something making them money.
Okay.
I know that on some social media platforms, you make money for the posts.
Yeah, a lot.
But remember that there's a lot more dignity in making money from with a dignified post than just making the money.
Okay.
You can just make the money and not have the respect in the system. Okay. And think that, yes, you don't need the respect, but you don't need the respect now.
Okay.
You will not be that young person forever.
In 20 years' time.
Not 20 years is even too far.
You need
all you need is to get out of university and you're not that young person again. And I'll tell you something my roommate told me before we finished university.
Okay.
He said, Nii Amah, you know that when we finish university, nobody will dash us money again. And it didn't make sense to me until we left school. And the minute we left school, we're no longer students anymore. Your uncle will pass by the house and say, oh, you haven't seen you in a while. Here's 100, here's some 200.
That's cheap.
It just stops.
Everything changes.
It just stops. And just be mindful. You start posting all these things on social media. It is the same uncles of yours who are also on social media. It will find a way to get to them. And then they start asking you questions. Is this how we trained you? Is this how we brought you up? And who will have the eggs in their face?
I want to ask a personal question. What type of home were you brought up from? Like how was your upbringing? How was it like? I know there was a little much of social media, or in your era there was little or less social media platforms or anything that has to do with the internet. But how was your upbringing at home? What are the things that shaped you to doing the things you are doing now? So
in my day, there was nothing like social media.
Okay.
If we wanted to socialize, you walk to your friend's house. In my day, the telephone we had was the Chemimeba. You dial and then it rings and goes back.
Okay.
So I grew up heavily in the 90s, late 80s and early 90s. That's at the heart when I was in my early 20s, sometime about that time. So we didn't have any social media at all. I'm not saying maybe if we had social media in our time, we possibly would also have made some of the mistakes that some of the people are making today. But the nice thing is that in those times, we related to people, we made friends. So your friends would typically be the people around you who live in your neighborhood, possibly the guys and girls you go to school with, or you meet at vacation classes, or you meet in school and things like that. So those are the people who become your friends, and their friends' friends become your friends, and the network grows from there. But my parents were civil servants.
Okay.
My father, for 20 years, wasn't working in Ghana. So he gave us the opportunity to visit him over the long back, or he will come over the long back. So we did have the opportunity to interact with other African young people from other African countries. So I do have friends from Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Liberia, the Gambia, Senegal, and things like that. Yeah. So because he worked across the continent, so it made us interact with people. And I think for me, I would always say that the more people you meet, the more diverse cultures you are exposed to, it helps shape how you think. Because it allows you not to look down on people. Not to look down on people. To remember that first we are human beings. So what you have is only an advantage at this point in time. So there's an opportunity that you have that somebody doesn't have. You can only imagine how if somebody gets 10% of the opportunity you have today, what they will do with it. The school my mother went to does not exist anymore.
Wow.
The primary school my mother went to doesn't exist anymore.
Wow.
But those schools made my mother. And they were village schools, pure village schools, government schools. Okay. Ask yourself today, are you proud to take your child to that government school or to your primary school?
Has a reason.
You understand? Yeah, but those government schools that we call Saito are the schools that made most of our mothers.
Yeah, that's true.
You understand? And maybe they didn't take us to those schools, but over time, the world is evolving. The technologies that are at our disposal find a way to make capital out of it. Excuse me. To make capital out of it rather than mess your life.
So, quite recently, there's been issues about social media causing people more harm because you post so many things way back. Now you are looking for a job. You are in the job market, and that thing is being referred to you.
Mm-hmm.
You have been in a position to interview people or give people jobs, people who are seeking for jobs. Quite recently, there was a lady who was entering into the bar just because of certain posts she did some time ago. Because of that post, she couldn't get into the bar. What has that got to do? Is that a fair treatment, or is this something which is really hurting the youth that we are not even paying attention?
So that's why I said your ideals today will be very different from your ideals 10 years down the line.
Okay.
10, 15 years ago, from Friday to Sunday night, I was partying every day. In my first job, I worked at Joy.
Okay.
As an honor person. I was just jockeying with DJ Black. Friday nights, we finished open house party, weekend warmer, and we're off to Boomerang. And we'll hop all the nightclubs before we go home. Fast forward, some 20 years later, Friday night, I'm stuck in a lecture till 8 p.m. Saturday, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., I'm stuck in a lecture. When was the last time? I can tell you, the last time I had alcohol was 23rd December. What's today's date? It's the 13th of January.
Yeah. That's true.
Your life changes. The things you believe in 20 years ago, you might not believe in them today.
Okay.
And that is why responsibility on social media is very important. I've seen people who have sworn that, there's no God 20 years ago. Fast forward 20 years today, they are ministers in churches and in mosques and all sorts of places.
The reality has gotten to them.
Not reality, their ideals changed.
Yeah. That's good.
I've had colleagues who were the bad boys in class when we were in secondary school. Today, what are they? They are doctors and all sorts of preaching against some of the things that they did when they were in secondary school. So that's why I'm saying that your ideals will change. The things you believe in will change over time. Simple exposure to things. I've seen people who were radical until they left university, and then the real life hit them in the face, and they had to change their perceptions. I've had someone who didn't eat meat. A friend of mine, he didn't eat meat. When we were second, he's Rasta. There's a Rasta man. Rasta man doesn't eat meat. Today, you understand? So your ideas will change. It will change for the better or change for the worse. But what is critical is that you must always ask yourself, what next? Or what do I intend to achieve? Will I be proud of this a few years down the line? 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line. When you are being vetted in parliament for deputy minister or minister of state or ambassador or something, and somebody decides that, oh, there's a certain internet, let me just check what you put on Facebook 20 years ago.
Just that post
just one post could just put things in a U-turn for you.
So let's say, as a parent, you are a parent. I'm still a kid trying to find my way. How do you control your kids' presence on social media? Is it something you have control over?
It is It is the responsibility of every parent to parent their children or raise their children, not rear your children.
Okay, that's a deep one.
So it's your responsibility to raise your children, not rear them.
Okay.
The reason is these children must be guided. So I have young children, but I've realized that what business does a 15-year-old have owning a phone? Okay. If he needs to go onto the internet, there's a desktop at home. Go onto the internet and find the information that you want. I wrote my long essay without Google.
Yeah, your time.
My time, there was some Google, but I did my whole long essay with no Google. I went to the UST, KNUST as you call it today, the UST library, and read books and did my long essay. Today, you have the advantage of Google, so you don't need to literally move. Even the university library is online today. You understand?
The reading is
so now you can literally, I can go into BAM library. All I need is my student ID.
Then just
go into BAM library and read any book at all I want.
Even Google can do the audio reading
for you. All these things.
I think we are privileged in our era.
You are privileged, yes, but these are the times. Okay. In my father's time, they had a typewriter. In my time, we had the computer. There's a generation before me that had a word processor. I don't even know if you know what the word processor is.
I have an idea about it.
But in today's generation, there is a technology called GPS Quats or something like that can literally write your whole long essay for you. All you need to do is to put in the topic and it will write it for you. So it's not to say that they are bad things. But the important thing is they're good things. But back to your question. So what I do is I give my children, I give them a certain amount of time on the internet. You spend it, it's gone. If it's 2 hours a day, you have 2 hours of internet time.
When 2 hours is up.
If the 2 hours is done, it's done. We must teach these children also how to control themselves. Otherwise, what happens is you live your life literally on the phone. This morning, I almost knocked down a young lady because she had her earplugs in her ear, crossing the street, most likely listening to music. Then she was on social media. So I actually stopped and she ran into the car. I stopped.
This is how
that's how consumed a lot of people are with social media. That they spend their whole lives just checking somebody's reel, checking somebody's, what do you call them? That's
TikTok.
You're TikTok, and you're on Facebook, and you're Twitter, you're on Instagram, and all the grams in the world, you're there. But remember that there's more to life than all of this.
Okay.
There's more to life than all of it. And in the part of the world we live in, there are about 70% of Ghanaians possibly who have never even gone onto a social media before. And they are young people like you.
They are
young people like you. And or they have gone onto social media and they are making money from social media.
Yeah, I quite heard some time ago when some people who were in the village, I excuse my language, but they were like, the BEC results came and they were like, they're going to beat computer. And all they thought was that computer was a person who was processing their results and all that. These people are people who are deprived from all this kind of stuff. But I really want to have ask this last but one question. This question is I want us to face reality. Who should we blame? Should we blame our character? Should we blame the societal standard of living? Should we blame societal expectation for us? Or who should we blame for our consumption with social media or obsession with social media, putting things out there just to make few monies, few hypes, and just to follow the trend? Who do we blame?
First, you must blame yourself.
Okay.
First, blame yourself. Nobody will post anything on your page if you don't give them access to post it on your page.
That's true.
Whether you are the celebrity or you are the ordinary man like me. If I don't give you my access to my social media, nobody will post anything there.
Okay.
And there are many days that I've gone without posting a single thing on social media. Many days.
Even today.
I didn't die. I did not die. There are some people who must tweet every day.
Yeah. Very necessary for them.
They must tweet every hour to remain relevant. I'm not saying it's wrong to do that. It's right to have an opinion. It's right to share your opinion with the world. But it is also you are to blame if things go haywire on your social media platform. At the same time, I also will blame some parents as well. They have overexposed their children to social media. So, for example, in my son's school, the kids have formed a WhatsApp group.
Okay.
Do you know what they're sharing in that WhatsApp group?
It's up to the parents.
It is a parent's responsibility to find out. Your child has a phone. They cannot afford data.
Okay.
So you are buying the data for them. You bought the handset for them. You buy the data for them. And then you allow somebody's child to raise them. Ask yourself that question. You should check from time to time, what is your child doing on social media?
That's true.
And I'm saying to check what your child is doing on social media, meaning that this child is sub 18.
Okay.
Have an idea what they're doing. You'll be shocked. Some of my friends from over 30 years ago, in the neighborhood I grew up in Osu, my mother knows them even by their nicknames. Not just their names.
Their nicknames.
Because she was interested in what you were doing.
Okay.
And for that reason, she will say, why are you guys standing outside and chatting? Come and sit inside and chat.
That's a good
Because she's interested in
what you are saying.
What you are doing. It's not that she's listening to us.
Okay.
But the fact that you are sitting in the house will tell you that you don't talk about rubbish, certain things. And when you don't talk about certain things, those things, it's not on your mind.
Yeah.
Same way as a parent, even if your child is 21, have conversations with them. I know that there's the pressures of modern day living are such that you are caught up in traffic and you are tired. But in the first place, the children are your children first.
Okay.
It is not the responsibility of school to bring up your child.
Okay.
The school's responsibility is to give your child an education. Finished. If school cannot shape your child's moral, at best what they will do is have religious and moral education in class and they examine them for it. That's it. Finished. But you, the parent, your responsibility is to bring your child up the way you want them to go.
So something, I'm sorry to cut in. something happened one day when I was in the university. I wrote an article on the fact that parents they should be real with us rather than hide certain things from us. A young lady, we were watching football at a hostel, and a young lady came out with a short dress with nothing under it. She came to pass. Few minutes ago, I realized that the young lady came with speed. She went up there, and when she came downstairs, she was wearing a tra underneath it. When she was returning, I realized that she was coming with her parents and one auntie of hers. So I kept asking myself, does her parents even know about this? Because in our African society, I would choose not to say certain things to my mom simply because today we are in a very happy moment. We are chatting, we are having fun. Tomorrow she will use it against me. So I decided that no. Then I wouldn't say certain things to my mom. I want to talk to her about it. But once I tell her today, tomorrow she'll be angry with me and she'll make me relive that moment.
There's nothing wrong with your mother telling you something that you've told her.
But they don't engage us into certain conversations which are really.
You have not tried.
It's very difficult.
Admitted, yes, not all parents are comfortable talking about certain subjects.
Yes.
Also because of the upbringing that they might have also gotten in the past.
Yes.
So having certain conversations with your father or your mother might not be an easy one for you.
Yeah.
But there's always some adults that you flow with.
Yeah.
There's always an uncle. There's always an aunt that you flow with. There's always. And then you can have those conversations with those people.
Okay.
You understand? So sometimes, and in the system that we find ourselves, the typical Ghanaian system that we find ourselves in, we are communal people. So uncles and aunties matter.
Okay. Not just our parents.
So it's not just your parents. I grew up in an area where if I misbehaved, Mrs. Adom can call me and scold me.
Before even your mom.
Or even that's the best. She can whip me and bring me home and report me.
Before your mother would take charge.
But today, a lot of parents find everything wrong with that. But that is how we're also brought up. And that is what makes us unique as a Ghanaian people.
Yeah.
It's not to say that, yes, some people have abused it and so they end up beating you all the time. Admitted. But we grew up in a system where the community was also responsible for the upbringing of the children. So today people see a child misbehaving, but forgetting that but if they have bad habits, your children will learn from them. Think about it that way.
Yeah.
So if for me, I see a young person misbehaving, I will let you know. Stop what you are doing. Because I don't know where my child is going to meet you and play with you.
That's
the bad language I learned as a young person. I learned it from my peers.
Yeah.
And sometimes I made the mistake and came to say some of those things at home. Immediately I was corrected. Where did you learn this from? Have you heard me say this in this house before? But today, a lot of parents just keep quiet to some of these things.
And it goes on and on.
And it goes on. And then when your child ends up on social media, insulting everybody or walking half naked around and all of that, then you say that, and today's generation, it's not today's generation. We are also part of the problem. That is why I said blame yourself. And yourself could be you as the consumer putting it on social media, you as the parent who saw a bad habit from possibly a neighbor's child and didn't say anything, you as the teacher in class who have seen that your children, the children in your class, the 15-year-olds, have a WhatsApp group. And only God knows what we are posting on WhatsApp.
Okay.
Only God knows what these kids are sharing on WhatsApp.
Okay. Because
even as adults, see the kind of things we post.
Mm-hmm.
In my generation, well, let me use my mother or my father as an example. For them, once it is written in a newspaper, it's true.
Yeah. I still live by that with my grandfather. When I say it, where did you hear it from? On the internet.
It's not true. In your generation, once it's on the internet, it's true. And you'll be shocked. A lot of things that happen on the internet. The other day I brought some pineapples home. And my daughter, oh, Daddy, I know how to peel pineapple and it's so easy. I'll show you. And I said, Nami, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen that video too, and it's not true. So no, Daddy, but it is true. All you have to do is just twist the top. You've seen that video. It's absolutely focus.
Once it's on the internet, you've seen it.
Twist the top, roll the pineapple on the thing, and you can pick it one by one. Try it and see it. Ghana pineapple. It doesn't work.
Ghana pineapple.
It's not even Ghana pineapple. It does not work.
But once it's on the internet,
but today, this generation believes once a thing is on the internet, they think that it's true.
It is true.
So I will always urge young people, verify.
Okay.
Cross-check. You see something on the internet, don't believe it's gospel. And don't be in a hurry to post.
Okay.
Anytime I'm going to post something, what I do first is I type it, then I delete it. Okay. Then I ask myself, what I was going to post previously, was it worth it? Then maybe I think, it's worth it. It can either edify me or make the community I'm trying to influence better. I type it again. Then I delete it again. I do that 2 or 3 times. To just, by the second or third time, you realize that you've even refined the idea better. Yeah. I know that we're in a time of instant.
Right.
But in the time of instant, we must also be responsible and think about tomorrow.
Okay. We need to be responsible and think about tomorrow. Once I started thinking about how to educate people using a platform like this, I wasn't doing it this way. I was just posting 1 or 2 stars on social media. Everything about me changed. Even to reply to somebody's maybe tweet or reply to somebody's post was a very difficult one for me, because I realized I placed myself in a position whereby not everybody is in that position. A friend of mine met me one day. He said, Degeneral, I've been seeing your works on social media. You are really doing good. Somebody is watching without me knowing.
Mm-hmm. There's always somebody watching.
Somebody's watching without you knowing. They will bring it out when I was listening to Les Brown. He gave 3 advices. The last advice, he said, one thing you need to know is your speech. Because once you open your mouth, you tell the world,
you cannot take it back.
And once you open your mouth, you will tell the world who you are, how your character is, what you are meant to be. So what advice are you giving to us as young people? Even not just as young people, like everybody on social media. What advice should we take?
I will just say that whatever you talk about must represent you.
Okay.
I work in the marketing and PR space, marketing, PR, and sales space.
Okay.
So I try that what I post 9 out of 10 cases will be something related to the work I do, because that is how I want people to see me. I'm also using it as a selling tool for myself. So this morning, for example, I was invited by a media empire to come and speak with them. And that is why I'm back in school, because I have a passion to teach. So I'm hoping that possibly in my next line of work, I will end up in academia teaching people, because I believe that we must impart the knowledge that we have into the next generation.
Okay.
And for me, I will say that whichever generation you find yourself in, remember, each one teach one.
Okay. Each one teach one. Each one teach one. That is good. Social media is really compromising our values, but there is one way or the other we can learn from it. We have learned a great deal of it. And I think this will go a long way to shaping us and also give us a fair idea of how to live our life on social media, because it has become a community. People want to belong, so they do what other people are doing. But once again, it has been a very exciting interview. I've learned a lot even being on the show. So it is Degeneral's World and Time with Degeneral. I am very honored to speak to Nii Amah Dagadu. I read one of your interviews you had on one of these radio stations about how celebrities will be able to reverse the ban on advertising on beverages. It was a really powerful one. You can research on Nii Amah Dagadu and you get it. You can follow us on social media on our YouTube. Make sure you like, share, and comment so that you'll be getting daily posts on it. We have our podcast channels, YouTube, Instagram, and all other social media platforms. Thank you so much for staying with us, and thank you so much for listening. Continue sharing and building up a community. Degeneral's world. Let us rule our world. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Goodbye.